very important capability in Minecraft is converting unary signals into numerical ones, such as binary, and then converting them back into unary. Binary in this case is obviously way superior to using redstone dust and using its signal strength because firstly we can use rail lines which are instant, they can update every 4 game ticks, they cause way less lag, and encoding a number is as simple as activating the right ones at the same time. And you will see that now when I run this, it will activate this piston because this is a binary to unary decoder. And you can see it doesn't trigger when I activate just one of them. And even if I would activate all of them, it won't trigger. It will only trigger when it gets the right combination. This thing I have shown already in a past video. Many of you have told me that it was a little bit more difficult to follow because I mostly focused on the implication of using this with instant wires and how to use it in storage tech. So I'll now focus a bit more on the computational redstone and also for the reasoning why this is so powerful. So other than just being compatible with binary, it also has the advantage of using these cobble walls. These were previously almost useless items, but since observers can detect them these days, they are an amazing way to transport signal downwards. But not only that, as you can see, you can even use them for logic gates. If we would delete these two parts here, so let's say we stop interacting with these two, what this does is it basically acts as an AND gate. What that means is it will only trigger now, without these two obviously, when these two are triggered at the same time. If we now do the opposite, we'll need to remove these doors here. Now this will work as an OR gate. So it will trigger if we activate one of these, either one of these or both of them at the same time. So these are the two main and most important types of logic gates for any kind of computation. And I have just demonstrated you how to build those simply by taking this thing apart. And you can make these as tall as you want. There's basically just a world height limit for this, and the information travels instantly through these cobble walls downwards. But again, Adam, you have already shown this, so what's the problem? Well, if you're asking this question, you have probably not realized it in the past video, that these repeaters here have not a 2 game tick, but a 4 game tick delay. That means they can at most cycle every 8 game ticks. This is great if you are doing storage tech, which is bottlenecked by hoppers. But as soon as you are not being bottlenecked by hoppers, for whatever reason, or you are just trying to get it to double speed, that's a problem. And many of you have asked me how to figure this out, how to fix this. Well, it's not too simple, but I found a solution for this. The fact I even had to find a solution considering how comically overpowered this capability is honestly depressing, because I would have realistically expected people to have figured this out years ago, but I guess one more time I overestimated the technical Minecraft community. So let's look at this thing. It looks somewhat similar to this one, but you can see there are no repeaters anymore. This is obviously still compatible with instant wires. So how the hell does this work now? Well, we need to understand how the previous one worked. The main concept that made this even work is that Mojang, the way they coded the game is, despite repeaters like this having the same delay as two more observers, the game doesn't think that way. Even though it shows it to you, like visually you see both of them activate at the same time, what really happens is repeaters activate first. Actually, the order is repeaters, comparators, and then observers. So what this does is it first triggers this part. Oh, and this one obviously, since they are identical. And if they are activated, and then it activates these ones for a shorter period of time. While these ones are still activated, these ones then also deactivate. So basically this one triggers both first and last out of these two. And that's not really replicable easily. So we need to add another logic component, because we can just replace these with repeaters. I can't just put a repeater here and here put two observers in a row, because then we wouldn't have the second condition where the repeater powered ones are deactivating later than the observer powered ones, because they first activate and then they will also first deactivate, and the signal would still go through. This is also slightly inverted. In this case, we only want to activate these ones, but that doesn't really fundamentally matter, since obviously you can assign 1 or 0 to activate or deactivate it, basically as you want. So we still have here this AND gate and this OR gate. It's called gate for those who are unaware of the English terminology, for, as far as I'm aware, no reason. It's just terminology from computer science and electrotechnics. But here we have something more interesting. This is, I think, technically a not imply gate. For those who are unaware, implication is also one of the possible logic operations. But for us normal people who want to use normal language, what all this does is it triggers when you activate this. It doesn't trigger when you activate this, but when you activate both of them at the same time, it also doesn't trigger. And obviously if you don't activate any of them, it also doesn't trigger. So that's basically exactly what we need here. We need it to activate when all the, I guess, let's call the ones that should be powered, let's call them 1. All the ones here that when they get activated, this gets triggered. But even if a single of the zeros is activated, or the ones that should be 0 gets activated, it won't fire. So how does this weird contraption work, and why am I building this in this weird way? You probably ask yourself. That's to make this one white tileable, firstly, so you can just build these next to each other like that. And that's also another feature of the cobble walls. You can just extend this and put more stuff here, and have the whole logic with the cobble walls activating and deactivating still present. And we are using this dropper here. This is a reason why I didn't do the video in the past showcasing this. And that's because in 1.12, or I think it's up to, I don't know, like 1.15 or 13 or something like that, when you had a lot of droppers in the world, it caused a bunch of lag just by literally them existing and being loaded, and then when a piston activated, it caused a bunch of lag. However, that's no longer the case. So having loads of droppers is perfectly acceptable, especially when not too many of them activate, which is basically ensured by this AND gate. So how does this even activate? This looks a little strange. So let's build it up. I'll build it slightly differently so you can see what's happening. When I'll put some items here so we can see it directly. When I now place a block in front of this, it will not activate. Because droppers behave more like pistons, where they effectively use the same code as doors, and it's called quasi-connectivity. I hope you know what that is, considering you are dealing with encoding in redstone. But I still think it's nice to explain it. And when I add this node block here, it doesn't need to be a node block. It suddenly works. It can be a powered rail, for example. It can even be a piston. Obviously, we don't want to use pistons because they're laggy. I think it can even be another dropper, but I'm not too sure. I think yeah, okay. So droppers don't do this. Obviously, out of these options, the node block is by far the best since it causes the least lag. So we can see that if we just forget about this is basically the same concept as this, right? Why wouldn't it be? However, to prevent this from activating, because it's using this node block here, which is necessary for the activation, we can also trigger it with the same trick as we used there, with a repeater just before the observer triggers. Obviously, to do this, we have to slightly change the configuration. And now, when I stop time, these have the same delay. It should not fire. I think that was because I did this. So maybe we need to do something like this. Yeah, because Minecraft is incredibly janky when it comes to these things. So let's do that again. Yeah, and now it doesn't fire. I think that's because what Minecraft loves to do is it triggers the input from a player on a different game thing, like in between the where this one triggered and this one. And it's just ridiculously coded for no reason. So that's all what this really does here. Thanks to this configuration, it now works the same way this thing. And because all of these things here only have a 2 game tick delay, I can activate this every 4 game ticks. So let's demonstrate that. Freeze the time once again. And now I do tick step 4. I should be able to deactivate it. We should get multiple pulses. Okay. Oh yeah, we actually got them. Nice. So my demonstration that I didn't even test before worked perfectly first try. Yeah, and this is the whole concept. I think I explained to you everything you need to know. Now you can even do effectively inversion of signal, and once you can do AND, OR, and NOT with logical gates, you can basically build yourself your own computer using this technology. And I hope maybe someone will get a use for this, other than me, of course. I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't find a use for it. Probably in storage tech, but also like 3D printers in Minecraft, auto crafters in the future with the crafting block, even programmable ender pearl cannons could probably use this, but those don't really care much about performance. So